Well, all right, Austin, let's see if the old Redlegs here can finish this bad boy off. How you doing, my friend?
It's the exciting Friday night game we always wanted, man. This is back and forth battle. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Doing good though, man. Glad to be here.
Good to have you on again. Let me turn you all the way up. I think the chat's going to tell me you're too quiet, so we got you cranked up as loud as you'll go. So if it's too loud, you got to turn me down. That's the only option. What a game.
Yeah, some fireworks, I guess, on a Friday, even though they got the concert, I guess, after the game. Yeah.
Yeah, the marshmallow crowd's got to be disgusted at this.
Right. They're like, we just want to see some DJing.
We were told that Rob Manfred did this pace of play thing, and these games don't go this long anymore.
Right. Just happens to be a concert with a baseball game in front of it. Yeah, they'll make it interesting here.
How do you not love Sal Stewart, man?
Right. I wasn't loving him after that first inning, but completely redeemed himself.
Yeah.
My buddy texted me. He's like, "Hey, he swings the bat. That's what you got to worry about with him."
Yeah.
Yeah, not the low-scoring game. Skeens for screen.
I don't know if I'm ahead or behind you. Oh, Tyler Stevenson, man.
Dude, automatic.
Gonna make some team very happy here in a few days.
Right. Enjoy while you can, Reds fans. Maybe the Yankees, they don't just want Trevino back. They can take Stevenson.
Seth Floyd, broken audio from everyone? Just me, Austin? Who has the broken audio? Both? Well, there's much I can do about it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a weird game too because the crowd got, larger as the game goes on. It's like it's kind of a snoozer to begin with. Now it's like playoff atmosphere.
Small crowd for Hunter Green and Paul Skeens, and then a big crowd for Caleb Ferguson and Pierce Johnson and the Pirates relievers.
Yeah, the low-scoring affair between those two starters, right? Psych.
Oh, we got a strike three challenge. They're gonna win this, right?
Looks like it. Marshmallow fans just want the game to be over.
Robot says ball game. All right, well.
Take it.
Reds keep winning. I guess let's do a show and talk about it, Austin.
And a bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Clemente. It's the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He's gone. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Boston. The Reds win the pennant. Larkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one
De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McLean's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the wall, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed the no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, well, hey, what's going on? Welcome into the Chatterbox Reds live post-game show. Nick Kirby joined by Austin Layton here on a Friday night as the Cincinnati Reds find a way to get it done 8-7 over the Pittsburgh Pirates in a wild Friday night game. Austin, what was your initial thoughts on this one?
My initial thoughts is there was a lot of typing on the box score recap, but it was a good game, man. Back and forth, you'll take it. I think if you're like us and you're Reds fans still watching this team in general, and you probably got something going on, but maybe you're a sicko, I guess, like Santion said last year. But shoot, man, that was a fun one. Good one to win. I'll take it on a Friday night. Glad to be here, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Reds finish off the month of July with a winning record, 13-12. Reds' first winning month since April. So this team is continuing to play pretty good baseball. The Reds will, of course, this is a 4-game series. They haven't secured a series win yet, but they will get another series here into the second half where they will have at least have split a series. So they are at of course, lost the series to the Guardians, but the Reds at this point in time are 3-1 and 1 if it was a tie. So look at 1 win away from winning their 4th series out of 5 so far here in the second half. At the moment, the Reds are 5.5 games out, the Reds are 5 games out of a wild card spot. If either the Diamondbacks or Phillies were to lose, the Reds could get within 4.5. Last time I checked, the Diamondbacks were down a run late to the Guardians. The Phillies were tied at 4 with the Orioles. So could get to within 4.5, make it weird, as Emilio Pagan would say. I don't think this changes anything whatsoever. But the Reds are going to have some pretty interesting, I guess, decisions. And I think the decision is probably just more or less how far do you go at the trade deadline versus what your decision should be. But we are less than 72 hours, 69 hours exactly away from the
Nice.
trade deadline. Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah,
Austin,
I don't
go ahead,
know,
sorry.
man. It's going to be a weird deadline. Oh, no, I was going to say it's going to be a weird deadline. I think to your point, they're still in it. I'm putting air quotes if you listen to the podcast, but I don't know, man. I think you got to sell some of these guys, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's certainly where I am at. It's kind of been eerily quiet so far. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but there has not been a whole lot of deals yet. Usually, when you're a few days from the trade deadline, you're kind of expecting a little bit more action to kind of start taking place. But we'll see. I can say that right now, and I could be doing another show here in 3 hours when the Reds make a big trade. So that'll be it. That's kind of the interesting thing too, is like you win like this big game on a Friday night, and then like you turn around and make a big trade like 2 hours later. Like that's a possibility. I'm interested to see kind of where the Reds are at. Austin, are you ready with the box score recap? Do you need me to buy you some time?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
The box score recap, as always, is presented by our friends over at Sharefax Credit Union. We appreciate Sharefax support of Chatterbox Reds, as always. And we want to remind you that Sharefax is a not-for-profit financial institution which is owned by its members that returns earnings to them through lower fees and better rates in addition to traditional banking options. Sharefax Credit Union is an equal opportunity lender and insured by NCUA.
All right, box score recap. As Nick mentioned, game 2, Pirates at Reds at GABP. There's a battle of some big-name guys on the mound. Both guys actually falling on some hard times as of late, though. Paul Skeens versus Hunter Green, and the Pirates got to Green early after a couple misplays in the field in the first inning, one by Matt McLean on a potential double play, and then Sal Stewart trying to outrun a base runner, kind of the first base bag, got in a little traffic with Hunter Green. The runner was safe. And Green ultimately probably could have got out of this inning with no damage, but instead Nick Gonzalez singled in Brian Reynolds and Valdez to give the Pirates a 2-0 lead after the top of the first. The bottom of the first, the Reds would actually return some fire, though. After a J.J. Bleday walk, Tyler Stevenson doubled and scored Bleday. The Reds at that point trailed 2-1. Nate Lowe followed with a single to score Stevenson, and the Reds tied the game after 1. Right back in it, top of the second, though, the Pirates, Jake Magnum hit a solo shot just over the wall in right field to make it 3-2 Pirates. But in the bottom of the third, Bleday tied the game at 3 with a solo shot of his own. And the scoring would not stop there in the least. The bottom of the fourth, Ellie De La Cruz hit a 1-out triple past the diving Magnum. And Sal Stewart, who you'll hear a couple times tonight, followed with a 2-run blast. And the Reds led 5-3. And we go to the top of the fifth. Brandon Lau doubled. Brian Reynolds singled. And then Valdez had a sac fly to score Lau. And Pirates brought it within 1 to 5-4. And then the top of the eighth, the Buccos rallied in this inning, a couple guys. Caleb Ferguson took over for Garcia, gave up back-to-back singles, ended up being relieved by Pierce Johnson. He struck out the first batter to get to 2 outs in the inning, but it was downhill from there. He had singles by Davis, Magnum, and Lau, scored 3 runs, and after the inning was over, the Pirates led 7-5. But you go to the bottom of the eighth, the Reds did not say die. The singles by McLean, or Marte first, and then McLean, and then he basically had first to third with Marte and McLean at that point, and then Sal Stewart came up. Who else? Doubled in both base runners to tie the game at 7. And then with 2 outs, a ground ball to third by I almost said Lau, Nate Lowe, looked like it was going to be the end of the inning, but Gonzalez tried to get the force out at second instead of the easier play at first, hit off second baseman's glove into the outfield, scoring Stewart from third, and the Reds took an 8-7 lead where the score would hold. All in the day for Hunter Green, 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks. It was interesting to me because I think a lot of those runs in the first, maybe could have been unearned, but, they ended up coming up being official runs. And the Reds would ultimately escape this one. Noel B. Marte with a big day, 3-4 with a double. Lowe 2 for 5. Stewart 2 for 5 with a dinger. And that is your box score recap.
All right, we did have a deep drive of the day. It was off the bat of Sal Stewart, his 23rd home run of the year. Put the Reds up 5-3, a 2-run shot. Hit 104.1 off the bat, went 409 feet increased the Reds win probability by almost 15% up to 77%. And our deep drive of the day is brought to you by Braxton Brewing Company, the official craft beer partner of the Cincinnati Reds. You can crack open a Ballpark Beer, a crisp German-style light beer crafted perfectly for 9 innings and hot summer nights. Grab a cold one at Great America Ballpark, Braxton Tap Rooms, or your local retailer. Braxton Brewing, brewed for Reds country. And I was supposed to bring a Braxton Ballpark Beer down to crack open, but in the middle of that crazy end of the game, I did not get upstairs for it, but this is my fake crack. I will be sure to devour that beer in honor of Braxton Brewing here when the show ends. All right, let's jump into it here, Austin. Let's start off with, I guess, Hunter Greene. Not his best start, not his worst start. I guess he outpitched Paul Skeens. He had a lot of hard-hit contact, 10 hard-hit balls allowed, something you're not going to see a whole lot of. But he did kind of grind through 6 innings. Obviously, with his bullpen, every inning you can get is pretty crucial. So I don't know. It was kind of one of those okay starts. You just move on to the next one. Hunter Greene, there was a lot of speculation early in the week. Yesterday, there was reports that it's a 50-50 shot that he would be traded. Bob Nightingale completely squashed it, said there's no chance that he's traded. Bob Nightingale's not been necessarily the most accurate reporter out there, so we'll wait and see. I have a hard time believing it's completely squashed, but I also kind of have a hard time believing it's actually 50-50 at this point. So we'll see. Probably not Hunter Greene's last start, but a possibility, I guess.
Yeah, possible. I view it more as the Reds basically just saying, hey, we'll listen to anything you guys want to call us and talk about type of situation. And obviously Hunter Greene would be one of the bigger pieces that the Reds have that teams would actually be interested in. When you're, a team like the Reds and you're under 500, there's probably not too many guys that, people are excited about, calling and asking about, but Hunter Greene definitely with the name value. And like you said, he's pitching okay today, but, on the season, his numbers aren't super great, but I think people still view him as, a top of the line starter. So he's going to get that talk. And the Reds, I think, honestly are smart for listening to offers. I don't want to see them obviously trade him for nothing or, one of those trades where we're like, all right, we got some prospects. We'll see these guys in 3 years and maybe we don't see them at all. But I don't know. I think all in all, Hunter Greene, yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, it was an okay start. 4 strikeouts. It wasn't, a high strikeout day by Hunter Greene, kind of struggled with the command off and on. But I mean, you'll take it. Like you said, with the innings, 6 innings, especially this late in the year for the bullpen, but also Hunter Greene, and the durability. I think you got to like what you saw, at least keeping them in the game. And I touched on it too. I think it could have been a very different start. Obviously, if you get out of that first inning with no runs, that's baseball. So I'm not going to make too many excuses about it. But it could have easily been a very different start for Hunter Greene. But all in all, got to be happy with the performance.
Sticking with the pitching, pretty disappointing efforts, I guess, from Caleb Ferguson and Pierce Johnson, 2 of your highest paid relievers. Didn't have it certainly tonight. But closing it out, Emilio Pagan got it done again. Another perfect inning from him. Since he's come back from the IL, has looked really sharp. And again, another interesting trade piece over the next 2+ days here to see if maybe he gets moved. Austin, do you think there's any chance they would be able to move Pagan?
I'd be curious to see what the value would be as far as like other teams, valuing Pagan, I should say. I think that he's a good bullpen arm. I don't know if other teams would view him necessarily as a closer if they're looking out, for something like that. I know the Reds kind of have him in that position mostly out of necessity at this point, but I just don't think that, I don't know. I would be shocked if there's a lot of people interested, but I think if you also look at it, like just strictly numbers over the past couple seasons, some people are like, hey, he's got a lot of saves over the past couple of years. Like, we need some help in our depth in our bullpen, maybe 7th, 8th inning type of guy. That's where I could see it, but I don't know. And I think it's with any trade, you're seeing, what they give up and, how much salary they eat, that sort of thing. But I don't view Pagan, I guess, as a guy that the Reds would necessarily be trying to move unless the offer was too good to pass up, so to speak. But I don't know what your thoughts are.
We'll see. I mean, I think he's one of the more important pieces to move just because I think it'd be nice to try to get out from under his salary. But again, we'll see on that. It's hard to really hard to really know on that. And there hasn't really been any smoke whatsoever on Pagan, which is kind of surprising since he is a closer. And like, there's only so many guys that are actually an official team's closer that are on the trade market. I don't even know if there's necessarily. I'm sure I'm probably missing someone. I don't follow the rest of baseball all that closely when I have to follow the Cincinnati Reds team 24 hours a day. But I don't think there's a whole lot of actual closers out on the market. So I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been at least a little bit more smoke. But we shall see. The thing that is interesting to point out with the trade deadline is most of the Reds deals over the last few years, there's very little smoke on. We very rarely have these deals where like there was a lot of rumors on it and then it ends up happening. A lot of times like these things completely come out of left field. No one had heard any rumors, any rumblings whatsoever. The Reds do typically, I think, like to keep their stuff very tight-knit and don't like to let stuff get out. So that'll be something that's kind of something to think about here as we move on. All right, on to the offense. Just another incredible night from Sal. STEWART, obviously, had the big home run early in the game, but then that huge double, that huge kind of moment late in the game, kind of it had that. It was one of the few times this year where we had that 2023 vibes. You know, you're on your City Connect Friday, big crowd, shout out Marshmallow, and Sal delivered a big spot. The crowd was really loud, really into it, and it was a really fun moment in this game. Sal STEWART just what an unbelievable rookie year that he's had. And the thing that I'm most curious, I just don't think he's really even, scratched the surface, because I think he has, the potential to be like a higher batting average guy, a higher on base guy. Like he did that in the minor leagues. Like he didn't have a lot of like 255 batting averages in the minor leagues. Like he was a lot higher. I think he has the ability to maybe hit for a little bit more contact. Some of that is also why he has 23 home runs, which I think I would take the 23 home runs over raising your batting average 10 or 15 points. But nonetheless, just Sal STEWART, what an unbelievable rookie season from him.
No doubt. And just a huge energy guy, too. And I think the Reds have really kind of needed that. You talk about the 2023 team, that they had a lot of it, top to bottom in the lineup. But I think especially this year's lineup, you're kind of looking for those spark plugs. And obviously, Ellio's had a great season, too. But yeah, I mean, Sal STEWART, the clutch factor, the energy, he seemingly, as a rookie, just doesn't back down from any moment. And is capable, as we saw tonight, of getting them back into a game when need be, and maybe even multiple times in a game, which is awesome. But yeah, cool to see with the tarps off crowd bringing some energy, especially on a concert night too. I probably had factored into the crowd, but you'll take it, man. I mean, those City Connect Fridays, I feel like I'm like an old man talking. It used to be pretty cool back in the day, and it kind of lost its luster, but it was good to see it kind of getting back to normal. But even outside of STEWART, man, I mean, Marte, great game, I thought, too. 3 for 4, for a guy that's really kind of struggled as of late, too. And, obviously his year-long numbers aren't where you want them to be, but really good game out of him. JJ Bleday, you can't say enough good things about what he's done this season, still contributing in big ways in games. And then even Nate Lowe, too, 2 hits. So really a good performance by a lot of the guys in the lineup. I think if you told me before the game the Reds would have 12 hits, I think we certainly would take that. And really, you got contributions from just about everybody. Looking at the box score, I mean, the only guy that was, 0 in the starting lineup was Eugenio Suarez, unfortunately. But really, I mean, a kind of a performance by a lot of guys tonight, and I think you'll absolutely take that. And that's kind of the way that we wanted this lineup, I'd say, to go. In beginning of the year, obviously more contributions out of Gino would have been nice, but if you get everybody kind of rolling like this, you get good game by Ellie, good game by Sal. That's kind of the recipe for success. It just hasn't happened a lot this season, obviously, and the record is where it is. But tonight, man, like the title says, they were the Rally Reds, and that was a fun one.
Yes, it was. JJ Bleday hitting his 19th home run of the year, 19 home runs and just 288 at-bats. Another player that I'm curious to see if the Reds would move on from him at the deadline or not. As the season's kind of gone on, I've kind of seen both sides of that. To be honest, if Bleday's numbers had kind of stayed like as hot as they were, I would have been more on the camp of trade him. But because he's kind of fallen down to earth, and he has played much better of late the last week or so, because he's come back down more to earth, I think I'm more inclined to saying you're probably not going to get a team that's just going to give you that incredible package that you would want to give away a player that does. You still have several years of control left on him. But JJ Bleday is one of the guys, man. I tell you what, has been an incredible signing for the Reds. You know, they've whiffed on a lot, but like Bleday, like the Brady Singer for Jonathan India trade, they have had some things go right in the midst of several others that have just gone horribly wrong. But just good to see JJ Bleday kind of have made these adjustments and kind of gives you some hope, assuming he's not moved to the trade deadline, but he's kind of giving you some hope that, okay, this wasn't a cute little 2 months. Like we've seen a lot of times with Reds players where they're never able to get back to that again. He's looking like a legitimate bona fide, I'll say big leaguer. I'm not even going to go too far, but the Reds haven't had enough guys that are just bona fide big league outfielders, and he at least looks like a bona fide big league outfielder right now.
No, 100%. And yeah, I think it's interesting because he's like a 220 career hitter or something like that. Let me pull it up real quick. I guess 218. So he's not, obviously a guy that's coming in with a huge track record, but the spark plug that he's been able to kind of provide for this team, I think has been huge. Especially, what the Reds, resources, you kind of bank it on picks like this to land. And I think that's obviously been what they've gotten out of JJ Bleday. I'd be shocked too, I guess, just based on the numbers if, he is getting a lot of attention on the trade market. But I think, people that watch baseball, like I'm, by far mostly a Reds fan, but I think people around the league probably see JJ Bleday enough to where, they know that he can contribute a little bit with some pop and some offense. Obviously the high draft pick that he was years ago and things like that will factor into it. But I'm kind of hoping they don't. I'd love to see this guy be a cornerstone of the Reds, into next year, and at least maybe not a cornerstone, but a contributor consistently. And he's one of those guys that, like, I think you nailed it. Like, they need just solid big leaguers. If the Reds are going to be doing their pseudo, rebuild here in a week, there's a good chance that we're going to have a lot of guys playing that aren't certified big leaguers. And I think, any consistency you can get with guys like that, I look in the similar vein as what we've gotten from Spencer Steer over the years, another guy that might be gone if he hadn't gotten injured, but that'll be interesting too. But just those guys that are just solid, you can always kind of count on to be consistently good. They're not the guys like, Matt McLain has been this year, or Brian Hayes, where they're batting, under 200, can at least get you some good at-bats here and there. And I think, the Reds need as many guys like JJ Bleday as they can have to be successful, rather than, getting rid of guys like that.
Yeah, I'd have to think the Reds will get some calls, though, just because, he does have like 19 home runs, and power's a pretty tough commodity to come by. And this guy that hit 20 home runs also in 2024, so it's not like this has necessarily completely come out of nowhere with him. So it'll be interesting to see. I think I would be pretty surprised if the Reds moved him at this point, and I'm okay with that. Like, he's not one like that is a. There's a few players like Brady Singer, Tyler Stevenson that are non-negotiable. They have to be traded at the deadline under any circumstance. Bleday's not. I do think Bleday, they should be shopping him, but I think, but saying that, I also say that I think the Reds should be shopping just about everyone. So I don't really think that's necessarily a big deal with JJ Bleday. Looking through here real quick. Let's just go ahead and jump in a little bit more, I guess, into the trade deadline here. There was the only really report of anything that changed today, other than the news that Hunter Green is, in case you weren't joining us earlier, Hunter Green, Bob Nightingale reported that the Reds are not trading him, basically is what he said after yesterday. Mark Feinstein and Buster Olney reported that it was a 50-50 shot that the Reds would trade Hunter Green. The other report was that Tyler Stevenson has been getting interest from the New York Yankees. This is, I think, the first time we've actually got an official report on it, but I think it was pretty obvious that the Yankees would be interested in Tyler Stevenson. They've been known to be a team that is looking for a catcher at the trade deadline. And with Hunter Goodman off the market, presumably, and Shea Langoliers off the market, presumably. That kind of makes Tyler Stevenson, along with maybe Adley Rutschman, the two really only real probably big-time catching targets at the trade deadline. So, again, like my thoughts on Tyler Stevenson is you have to move him. I think he's done a really good job to position himself over the last couple months to be a very valuable trade target. I don't know how much a team will give up for him, but I have pretty optimistic that the Reds can get a pretty good return and a pretty good package back that at least gives it a chance to really get something of real value back for Tyler Stevenson.
Yeah, and as much as I feel like I have been down, so to speak, on Tyler Stevenson this year, and maybe complained a little bit about him. I mean, he all in all is a very solid catcher, and especially with teams mostly doing a two catcher system at this point, like both your catchers aren't going to be just world beaters. And I think especially if you're a team like the Yankees that have run into some catching depth issues, you really can't pick up a more solid catcher, I would say, than Tyler Stevenson. Offensive numbers aside, and he's one of the best, if not the best, I think, still at his ABS challenge percentage, which honestly brings some value to your team, which is just a weird thing to think about in baseball nowadays, but it really does. And I think it can turn the tide of games. He's proven that he's good at it. If you want to go back to the offense, I mean, he's a guy that can contribute. He's not going to do it every night, but he's got some power. He had some hits the past couple weeks that were very big for this team. And I think that any team that needs catching depth, like, he's got to be close to the top of the list. It's an unfortunate place that he's in, contract wise, because to your point, he's kind of the guy that they really need to move if they don't think they're going to be able to negotiate and bring him back after this season. He's a guy that would be a free agent, and you risk losing him and getting nothing in return. So if you're out of it, he's probably a guy. I know we've talked about it for weeks now, that at least got to see what you can get for him, because there's a chance you get nothing. As there are a lot of guys that we could touch on in this lineup, but it'll be interesting because Stevenson's been kind of a pillar of this franchise for the past few years. Seems like a great guy all in all too, from just team camaraderie wise, interacting with the fans, interacting with the media. So be a guy that would stink to lose, but you certainly understand it from the business side of baseball.
Well, in a perfect world, you trade Tyler Stevenson to the New York Yankees. Stevenson stinks it up in New York, and you sign him back this offseason to a short-term prove-it deal. Yeah. I mean, that would just be the absolute best-case scenario here in this spot. But yeah, it is. Stevenson's kind of, again, I think he's a player that I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh man, we didn't have it that bad. We hated on Tyler Stevenson a lot. And you're like, man, when you watch Jose Trevino and PJ Higgins or whoever else the Reds bring in, absolutely no offense out of your catcher for 162 games. I think you're gonna be like, oh, you know what, man, maybe that guy wasn't so bad. But again, like, that's the thing with guys that are free agents at the end of the year. You can sign them back. There's literally no advantage whatsoever, unless you like spit on their face on the way out the door. Like, there's no advantage to holding on to them. I mean, you tell Tyler, hey, we had to trade you now. We'd love to bring you back in the offseason. Like, I don't think like Tyler Stevens is gonna be like, I can't believe the Reds traded me. I mean, like, I think if he wanted to come back, he'd come back either way. So he's a guy that you just absolutely have to move. Austin, any other kind of thoughts here on the trade deadline? I've been talking about it all day, every day for weeks now. Do you have any kind of thoughts here as we're, less than 3 days away?
Yeah, I mean, if I was the Reds, GM or president of baseball ops, whatever you want to call it nowadays, I think the targets for me would be the guys that are going to be free agents. Singer, Burke, I think probably Lowe, Caleb Ferguson, Stevenson, those type of guys. Those would be the guys that I would probably prioritize getting rid of, so to speak, just because I don't know. For me, I'm always looking at it as like, how does the Reds organization keep up with the Joneses and, pretty much any other mid-market team or even larger. And you got to basically, you can't afford to lose guys to get nothing, I guess is my main thing. And for all those guys that, I don't have a lot of confidence that we'd probably be able to negotiate and bring a decent amount of them back. And really, especially the pitching depth that we got, I'm not super I wouldn't be opposed to losing some of those guys from the pitching aspect, I guess you should say. So those would be the guys that I target. A name that I'm interested to see if anything happens with is Suarez, because I think it's certainly been, I would say, a disappointing season for Suarez and the Reds. But I still think just with his track record and career and, historical power numbers, like that would have to garner interest, I would think, from a team. Whether or not the return's great, I don't know, but it's just as much as I wanted it to, like it just hasn't really worked out with Gino this year. And I was really high on it, to be honest with you, coming into the season. I'm like, this is going to be great. It's the power bet that we needed. And I don't know, man. Like I just, if you can get a decent return for Suarez, I think that's a guy that I would probably try to move. And it sucks too. Same reasons I just said about Stevenson. I think he's an awesome dude and, really wanted him to work out with the Reds, but for me, it just hasn't. And I think for that reason, you gotta entertain some offers, but I don't know if you're there with Gino too.
Yeah, you have to trade Gino. I think you also in the second half want to get some guys some at bats. I think you probably want to call Edwin Arroyo back up and play him every day. Like I think Hector Rodriguez needs to get called up. And if you move Gino, you move Nate Lowe, you can kind of manipulate the lineup a little bit around that to kind of get those guys into the lineup. I think you trade Brady Singer. You also you might be able to call back up Chase Petty, who's just optioned down pretty much as just because of he had pitched in back-to-back days and it was more of a procedural type thing. But maybe, we were able to give him some starts here at the end of the year, give him a chance in the rotation. Maybe a guy like Jose Franco, who we just sold the doubleheader, looked pretty good. I wouldn't be opposed to, giving him some starts, seeing if maybe he could get there. I know Julian Aguilar is unfortunately on the IL right now, but he'd be another guy like I'd like to get some starts with and see. But, you trade all those pieces. Like, the crazy thing is yes, I mean, on paper, it doesn't make the Reds better by any means, and it makes the Reds worse. But it's not like you're trading away like Ellie De La Cruz. It's not like you're trading away Hunter Green and Chase Burns and Andrew Abbott. You're not trading away pieces that really completely flip your team one way or the other. Like, it's still capable. It's still possible that over a 2-month stretch, that even with all those guys departed, that you actually end up playing your best 2 months of the year, and like maybe you do go on a run. So like I don't think trading away all those guys necessarily completely changes the outcome of the season. I think this team could keep everyone and still finish the season 10 games below 500. I think they could trade all those guys and they could finish over 500. I just don't. I think like the randomness of baseball, those players aren't the kind of players that really. I know people hate when I say this, move the needle drastically one way or the other. And it's also possible in some of these trades that the Reds are able to get back some players that are actually able to be put on the big league roster. And I'm not talking like established big league players, but players that maybe are like where Edwin Arroyo's at in his big league, like where they're just getting ready, and like maybe you call some of these guys up and they're able to take off here in the big league. So I think that the time is now. The only thing is, like, I guess the only thing I'm willing to listen to in terms of like the other crowd that's like, you got to try to win now, is like maybe the Reds have done enough to where they can't trade, like make the drastic trade. Like, I guess I'll listen to you on that. I don't agree with that, but I'll like listen to your argument. Like, don't trade any cornerstone pieces because the Reds are maybe within 5 games. But I just don't think it changes anything with these rentals. You've got to trade the rentals.
Yeah, I think I sound like a broken record, but you just can't afford to lose them and get nothing. And that's the biggest fear I have with these guys. And especially if it's guys that really don't factor into the long-term plans, like you almost have to move them at this point, I'd say.
Yeah. WWBD, what would the Brewers do? That's how you approach every single one of these conversations. And I think we all know if the Brewers were in this situation, which they haven't been anywhere close to any of these situations because they always make the right moves, they would be trading every single one of the rentals. In fact, they probably would be capitalizing on a seller's market way more than the Reds will. But that's neither here nor there. All right, let's move right along here. Let's get into a little bit of Reds MILB. Nothing has really gone final yet. Louisville trails Indianapolis 2-1 in the top of the ninth. Chattanooga trails Birmingham 5-4 in the top of the 6th. Dayton was postponed. Daytona did win 2-1 over Bradenton. The Tortugas, they stay hot. They continue to hold. They have a 2-game lead at the moment in the Florida State League West Division. Out in the Dominican Summer League, both teams actually got suspended in the first and second innings. Must have been some rain out in the DR. So not a whole lot of Reds MILB. There will be a report over on Twitter with a little bit more Reds MILB. But up next for the Cincinnati Reds, Saturday 6:40 start time. Andrew Abbott on the mound for the Reds, going up against Braxton Ashcraft. Braxton Ashcraft's had a lot of success against the Reds. He's having a solid year, 10-4 with a 4.05 ERA. Yours truly will be back on the program tomorrow. There's a rumor, Roman, that Trace might join me as well. Nick and Trace Saturday show, which we haven't seen in a long time. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen or not. You'll have to tune in and find out if he actually shows up and joins me. But Austin, any final thoughts here before we wrap this up here on this Friday night?
Looking at tomorrow, though, I think it's a day that we're probably going to see TJ Friedel. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at that, he's actually had some success off of Ashcraft, so that'll be interesting to see him in the lineup and Reds X blowing up about it. But no, the other thing I was going to point out on Reds Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, official Reds account tweeted out a picture of Sal Stewart photoshopped on the back instead of Stewart, where his name is. It says ROTY for Rookie of the Year. So just a little foreshadowing there. I'm all in, man. Let's start the campaign. But no, I think we touched it all on tonight's game at least. But it's good to be back with you.
Good to have you, Austin, as well. Appreciate you. You've done a really great job helping us out this year. Enjoy doing shows with you on Friday night. Spending my Friday night with Austin Layton. Nothing better. There's also, I think, Austin, like a 95% chance of rain tomorrow night. So there is definitely a possibility that tomorrow's night game gets banged. And if so, we'll adjust accordingly. And then, as always, if there is any Reds trades, we'll try to get on here as soon as we can. My wife has like a bunch of events tomorrow morning and afternoon. So surely Nick Kroll is going to try to make a trade when I'm home alone with 4 kids. Because that's typically how these things work. But as always, like if there's trades, we'll try to jump on as soon as we can. On Monday with the trade deadline, I am available all day on Monday. I'm not going to make any sort of commitments in terms of like we're going to do a live stream from this time to this time, because we're going to wait and see kind of how the next 2 days go. But if the Reds haven't made really any trades, and it looks like they are going to make some trades, we'll at least probably come on live and react to the end of the trade deadline. I know my card is also available. Trace is available. So we'll have lots of coverage here on Chatterbox Sports. Make sure that you are subscribed. If you could, like the stream on your way out. If you're listening in podcast form, please leave us a 5-star review. Just real quick. It says Go Reds, 5 stars. We would appreciate that. All right. Well, for Austin Layton, I'm Nick Kirby. Appreciate everyone tuning in on a Friday night. We will talk again soon. As always, Go Reds.